Hi, welcome back to episode 2 of the library series. We're just going to pick up where we left off. I did go in and just fussed with a few things here with the panel joins. There's still another one there. And I'm just going to try to, we're going to work on the floor, the back wall here, which I'll have to see how much we actually see because there'll be bookcases. And then I'm going to work on this structure here, which will have a railing. We also may need to adjust the scale here, just to see proportionally if the image looks good. I think this is a good start with the ceiling with these panels that look good. Enough detail there, looks interesting. I slightly adjusted the lighting to get this nice cast here. We'll see how we go. Maybe I'll adjust it again. Okay, let's get going. I'm just going to, actually we'll just leave that open, and I'm going to grab the floor. I'm just going to pull this to the side. Okay. Just going to pull the floor out separate. May just put some thickness on the wall. Okay, just in case, not that there will be any light leaks, but just in case. I just was going to just change my display properties here so we can actually see what we're doing. Oh, it's backwards, that's why. I'm just cleaning up the floor here so we have a nice clean lines. Okay, so go to our scene tab here. We've got a few things. I'm just going to use a pre-made concrete floor, which is Texture Supplies concrete floor. Probably seen that around. It's extremely high quality. We may adjust it not to use the as dirty one. I may just do that now. I'll reload the correct one. This is concrete raw, clean. Let's load the normal map. Okay, the measurement there is 329 square, so we'll just put a UV map on it, 329 square. Okay, let's have a look. Could even make it a bit smaller, 2900. Okay. Now this back wall, we're doing that let's pull up the website. I'm going to do a scan of that concrete. Where are we? I forget which one it was. I think it's this one. That's really great. I mean, it's a great render, so I'll have to see what it actually looks like. And I'm just going to get this 8K one. Just give me a second here. Save it to the library so we can use it again. Sorry about that. That's a client messaging me. That can only mean good things. I'll take the albedo, the height, and the normal, and the roughness. These large what I like about textures.com is when you buy a map at a certain size, instead of paying 150 for the next map up, you just got to pay the extra 70 credits, which is fantastic. You know what I mean? That really helps cut the thing. So if you need to go back, you don't have to pay the full price for slightly larger. You've already paid some credits. And we'll just get those downloading. And I also wanted to just double check if we take this is just really sloppy modeling, but we'll fix that up because that was just temporary. I'm just going to create a shape from here. Okay. What I'm doing now is I'm just going to build a temporary balustrade just to double check that it looks right. You take that, we're going to move it up about 900 roughly. Do it probably later. I just want to see what it looks like. See, that's quite high. I'd imagined we would see some things up here, especially if we've got cross balustrades across here. We may have to lift this upper story up and adjust the composition. But we won't do that for now. We'll just build and then we'll see how we go. While those textures are still downloading, I'll just get them going. So that's the concrete floor. I'll just quickly show you what it is. It's just all the textures pumped in at 100%. You just mess with to get the bump map correct, which is a normal map, so you need to push it really high to get actually anything out of it in Fstorm. Everything else is just normal. So now let's just build that back wall. In fact, we can just take this. I'm just going to take this whole lot here and just duplicate it. And we'll have the same material properties. It'll probably just not be as glossy, but it'll be pretty close. Okay, so I've got what's completed. We may not need the height map, so we'll just have to see. And I'm just using a script called drag to slate to bring all my materials in, all my bitmaps. Just speeds it up a lot. And they come in as Fstorm with the right gamma, everything ready to go. Doesn't know a normal map though, so just have to see. We'll have to work on that one. It's pretty high. Where is this one? There we go. I have to actually see what it looks like in the scene. Main wall. Pop that in there. Okay, now we can work on the sizing. I'm just going to look at the map so we can have a look at it. Maybe a meter and a half square. We'll have to see how it looks in the actual image. Because it's a box, we can just use a box map. There's a bit of repeating, but I don't think you'll see it with the structure around it. Let's see if we point the camera slightly up. Just gonna double check the camera height, make sure we're at like a reasonable level. Yeah. See, there is a fair amount of space up there. It's just the angle from being so low. I mean, we can always lift the camera, but it always depends on, if you're using 3D people, you can lift the camera wherever you want. But if you're going to Photoshop any people in, you're going to have a lot of trouble Photoshopping people with an elevated camera. You've got to have elevated people. They've got to be the right angle. It just starts to get really messy. And if this was a commercial job, I wouldn't lift the camera. It's just not worth it. At the amount of time it takes to re-Photoshop all the people to look right, it's just not worth it. But we may elevate it. I'll just have to see. I'm not really liking the composition there where we cut out the top here. I'd imagined a low shelf here along here with some artworks above it in my head, so I'm not sure whether it's working out. I have to adjust the entire composition, but let's just keep building. I'm just going to give that a render. We'll see how that looks. I'll just pause while that picks up. Okay, as you can see, when we changed everything from the flat grey to actual textures, it's definitely much darker, so I'm just going to adjust my tone mapping here. I'm working in the render setup as it's just one camera. It's not bad. Let's see how we go. This is not looking exactly as I wish. It's quite dark. I'll have to we'll just add some more lighting as we go. I mean, there'll be desks along here. Those classic library desks may make them a little bit more funky. I like that little bit of warmth in the I'm just messing with the values now just to see what looks right. There's no, you know, I may go up a bit much and then pull back the contrast. See where I get to. This is not working, I think. It's too busy. It's way too busy. Floor wise, it's okay. I mean, in the reference, these really flat grey floors really do a lot to add to the, like, you know, maybe we should we should make a flat rubber floor like this. And, oh, that's tiles, but you know, this sort of flat cast epoxy or rubber flooring, and then we'll have this. We could have the concrete, we could change it back to that raw concrete and put that on the wall. See how that looks. I can do that now without much effort. Let's bring up my big fingers there. Okay, so for the floor, I think I'll just have to make something quickly, and then we'll add on an extra layer of noise to it. Now let's pick a grey. I'm gonna actually, you can actually see that side. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of warmth to it. It goes a long way. Just a touch. Okay. Just going to refresh that to pick up the new UVW map settings on that wall. Now let's add some reflections to the floor. Super glossy. gonna load us a... It's a good base. Let me think. I'm just looking through my library for a good dirt map that works. I've got one which I use for plasterboard usually, and that may work. Where are we? Just put that directly into the reflection glossiness. See how that looks. And there's a little bit there. I like how it looks in here. What we can do is add a color correction in here to really push it so we can actually see it. Up the contrast. There, we'll lower it. There you can see there's a little bit of a... If we darken the color, it's a bit too dark really. I'd like the walls to be darker than the floor, like it is in the reference. I'm just going to lower this so it's less reflective, much more like a rubber cast floor. Now this back wall, better name that so we don't get lost. Rubber floor. This is the concrete. It's definitely too bright for me. And I also think the panels are just way too big. Just way too big. We may have to look back through these textures. See if there's something better. I think that was too busy. There was too many holes. We need sort of like these large pieces but more dirty. You can go back to the texture supplier. I hope all this helps, just me working through it in my own brain and saying it out loud. I hope it means something. I think sometimes that's the things missing from educational things. You know, I've heard Blender Guru talk about, like, you know, doing his tutorials like 3 or 4 times before he actually records and puts them out. And I think you sort of lose, you think like, oh, he just came up with that, you know, straight up. But it takes a lot of time to figure out like what looks good, you know, what is the process of making it look realistic, is these sort of subtle adjustments back and forth, like what does that look better, what does that look, you know, what if I try this, what if I make it darker, you know, does that look better? I think what the number one thing we want to do here is I want to make this much smaller so we can see the panel lines. I'm just going to do a 2D pan and zoom. Yeah, that's good. And we can adjust it here so that the panel line is exactly on this floor edge here, or maybe from the ground up. I don't know how much we can actually see, but the bookcase is in the way. Okay. Do another render test. Because this look is great. There's not even a lot of direct sun, but we'll see what we can get here. I do want to do these embellishments like the little fire alarms and things like that. Put some, you know, I think my bookshelves will be a bit more traditional. Let's have a look here. I'm hoping not to make these tutorials too long, but these things do take time, and if you do want to see everything, just let me know. Otherwise I can, you know, speed these things up and so you can, you know, watch the whole process time lapse or something like that. It's really up to you guys. I'm willing to do whatever it likes to do. What I'm doing here is I'm just lowering and increasing the contrast so we can see it a bit more, and lowering the how bright it is, so then, you know, we can actually see the texture. Seems to be Fstorm has that thing where if it finishes the full render samples, it won't, even if on refresh here, it won't re-render it. Even if you've made a change, you have to close the window and reload it again. I find it really frustrating. I don't know about anyone else, but I can't exit a render when it's loading. I've heard other people can do it, but I seem to be on the edge of crashing anytime I do that. There we go. We're getting that nice contrast at the top here. Bit of shadowing. I think that's good. I mean, there's a lot of repeating. It's a bit of a problem, but hopefully we won't see it behind the shelving and all that. Always put a figure in there to get a good sense of scale. Yes, I think this floor is good. I had an idea that a lot of the, like, there may be some display cases with some artifacts in it, and they would have this same warm grey palette. I've got some, let me just load up my library. I've got some African masks that I was thinking of putting in like a display cabinet right in the front. There's a lot of repeating here. It looks like each panel is repeating, but I thought this was I think it's only a 4-1 repeat. It's a bit of a problem. You can always, you know, adjust the texture, but sorry, my library's still loading. I'm just letting this render a bit while we load that. Okay. Got some and where I put them. Yep. Okay, so next let's build this platform at the top. Now the plan for that is, let me just, I'm going to go to clay mode here, which is the modeling mode, I guess. There's a gap there. We could push this backwards. I'm just going to set up the scaling and the positioning before we go anywhere, so we can just model correctly. I want that line, this line has to be exactly here. Okay, so modeling wise for this, I'm gonna put like a, what do you call it, like an I-beam along the edge here, like so you can see the profile, and then underneath I'm gonna have some, I think either beams running this way or this way, depends what you see from this angle. I'll just have to have a look. And then I'm gonna model like, you know, bracing and stuff underneath, and then we're gonna have like a mesh tile which I'm gonna make with geopattern, so it'll be really high detail, but you'll be able to see through into the structure, and that's where all the lining will be, and so it'll look like a flush metal roof, but you'll be able to see the structure behind it, which are slightly light, so you don't lose it. And then underneath we'll have the shelving running this way. And this would be just a corner of the library, but you'll never see any more. And then obviously I'm going to put this balustrade up the top. So I think maybe part of this modeling I'm just going to time lapse, and you can just watch me model. And if in the future you'd like to see me modeling in real time and talking about what I'm doing, I'm happy to do so. Just leave a comment below, and we'll go from there. Okay. Hi and welcome back. I hope that time-lapse me modeling that underfloor section in the railing was worth it. I just thought it would be a bit fussy to watch me do all of that. You can see here how it looks. I did do some adjustments to the scene scale. It just was looking too small for me. So I pushed the roof up, the ceiling, and pushed the floor down so it was slightly higher. And I think it's got a better scale to it now. I feel a lot better about it. And this is looking good underneath here. We're going to input the mesh screen on top now and the mesh tiles and have some lighting. And I think we're going to put a break here on the floor and put a carpet on that side. That'll give a lot of distinction between like sort of the workspace here in the open void and this under void area here, which is supposed to be more, where the books are kept. And here now we have some more space for artworks and stuff like that. On this back wall, I really don't think that's looking good, and we'll need to adjust this floor to put a bit of seam lines in it. On such a big space like this, it looks a bit weird, but we will have tables and display cases and stuff like that. For the library shelves, we're going to go for something very, let's have a look, something very like standard looking, not like custom built architecturally designed. I sort of like it, like it's sort of very reference business like sort of thing, something like this, so you can see through the stacks over the top of the books. I think that looks great. Probably not this beige, more white, and we may lift them up, very similar to this with the feet, and we'll have some signage and stuff like that. So from now on, I'm just going to I had a browse quickly, and I was looking for some, in Megascans, I'm looking for some concrete, and I found one that I think will work great for us. This is it here. It looks good. I think it's got that same sort of look as in the reference. Hopefully I've downloaded it now, and I'll just make sure we're good to go. Got Megascan's bridge going. Just hit it. Once you have bridge open, you just hit export. And if the bridge is working properly, it'll pop it right here. Or not. Is that it there? Who knows wherever it pops it? Here it is. It's always got some sort of strange name. And I always find that the roughness level is really odd on Megascans, and everything else just needs to be reconfigured a lot of the time. Wow, that's really blue. We'll have to control that. Just put a color correct in the middle here. Just gonna pull the saturation down. I know it's already too blue. And that bump, let's have a look at it. And put that on 100. To be honest, I'm still trying to fuss with the way Megascans come in. It's definitely not perfect. I don't like the way Fstorm handles normal maps. There's still a bit of confusion about like how to get the bump proper. So this is a 2 meter by 2 meter material, just applying it now. I'll take this full shading, let's have a look. Okay, I just want to see the tiling. Yowza. Problem with these big spaces, the tiling becomes a real issue, when you're going to see like such a large amount of it's not too bad. Definitely need some adjustment. See how that goes. Thought that was stretching. Now I'm just gonna pop close in. I mean that looks dramatically too big. It's a bit better. Just show you another. Just double check you can see that. I was doing some testing with instead of using GeoPattern, I could just use a texture. The texture is from, I think it was from textures.com. It's not a scan, it's a PBR. It's this metal mesh. It's actually brand new. I'm not 100% sure whether it's going to be the right look. If you scale it down, that's the idea. It looks like a fine mesh, but I'll have to see. Let's have a look here. Yeah. Yeah, that looks a bit odd. Well, we'll leave it for now. Let's have a look here in the whole space. Still very blue. I mean, it is blue. Maybe it's just the light. That's definitely much better. I may have to lighten that floor up. That's better. Okay, leave that be. I'll just show you this mesh and how that renders. So I just made a little frame, and this will be just a repeated tile. It's got displacement on it, and it may be okay for us for this, you know what I mean? It's one element. I just don't know really whether that's the look we want. I may just want a crosshatch, like just a grill with just flat polygons. That may be better. I think the best thing to do is to take this floor. We'll just I'm just going to take this top level, what would be the top floor, just going to pull it till I've got it where I want. Sit right in there. Okay, that's exactly what we want. Let's take the shell off it. I'm going to do is just going to hide now. I'm just preparing the geometry to make that to make the tiles. I'm just going to cut them however I want. I'm not going to be like exact. It's probably a bit far this side. Now how do I want them to run? Let's think. Sort of landscape this way, long ways. Good. It's good because this bay will just be the same. You can do this with rail clone. Maybe I should. It's just I can control exactly how the edges work, which is, you know, really advantageous.
Hi, Cameron.
Hi. Sorry about that. Sharing an office during COVID. So let's gotta run with what we got. So I split the mesh here. I'm just gonna flip it so it's facing down. That'll make it easier for us to work with. Was that down already? Okay, now these would be the individual tiles. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab them all and I'm gonna inset them just by polygon. That's too much. We just want to insert them just enough so that maybe even 2 mils so that they read as separate. I'm going to do 4 mils. 3 mils. Okay, and what I mean by that is I'm going to invert it now, delete that. Now we've got individual tiles. Just going to do this as like a polygon process. So we're going to go inset again. About that much. Now I want to detach this plane, and that plane is going to either become the texture we use for the mesh, or it's going to become how we generate the like mesh if we model it. So now I'm just going to shell this up quite a lot. 20 mils. What I may actually do is, just trying to think, do I want to see the inside of the mesh like I built it last time? So we just grab it, and I'm just going to extrude it, pull extrude up, and we'll get like a, we'll have like a loop there. We'll just hit symmetry on the Z axis, flip it. Okay. If we grab that, just push it up. You can see there it's got an inside gap. I'm gonna shell that just about 2 mils or even 1 mil. Let me just double check I went the wrong way here. How do I want this to look? Let me just think. Does it really matter? Will we see it? I don't think we're going to see it. Okay. Now I'm going to collapse those because what I want to do is, this is like non-realistic geometry. You know, if this was a tile, it's going to be joined in the corner. They're going to make it from multiple extruded aluminium. So this is the level of detail we've got to add. I want to select all of these edges. It's going to be slow, but worth it. Okay, now I've got all of those edges. Should do at least. I'm gonna loop them. I'm gonna chamfer them open by just a tiny amount. 1 mil maybe? Just enough to see it. Even half a mil. Just gonna open those. Let's make it 1 mil. You're never going to see it. Plus we want room for the chamfer that's about to happen. Just going to cap those edges. Now throw a chamfer on there. And make sure it's just the chamfers only. Now that's quite large, but on an angle like this, I'm going to see it like that. Okay. Now I'll grab both of these. Let's see where that plane is sitting. Now, what do we want to do with these? This thing. I don't know if this plating, grill plating is the best way to go, but I wouldn't mind checking it out. So the advantage is I can just apply a texture to make it much faster. Just gonna paste that geometry in here. Grab these. So there we go. We'll have to see what it looks like now. Where's that metal material? Just the same simple palette. That's what good architecture looks like. I'm just going to group these so we can grab them when we come out of render. Just unhide the ceiling. Let's hit a save. You never know when something can crash. Okay, I'm just going to start a render. I'll just pause and come back when it's rendering. Okay, that's rendering now. I don't think I like it. It's too industrial. I think we need something that's a bit more refined. I just think like a normal fin grid, if you know what I mean. Just see if we can implement something like that. Just trying to think of the best way to do it. Basically, what I want to do is this. Let's just apply a flat material to it. Some nice squares. That's it. If I grab all of those and create a shape from those, this is what I'm thinking. If we make it too thick, we won't be able to see the structure underneath. So it's a bit of like a challenge to make it fit. We'll pop it over here. Let's see, can we see that? Excuse my popping around. How else can we see it? I think it's too thick. Just like that, like a grill. If we start that one, let's have a look how that looks underneath. I mean, we could have exposed ceiling with services and that. I just thought the grill would add a bit of refined look to it, but at this angle I think we're losing everything we built underneath, which is not exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be able to see it a little bit. Could always pick it up in a vignette. Not bad. I think we better also do something about the lighting. I would like the bottom half of the right here to be darker, sort of like, you know, like a dark library shelves underground, like you know, and this section here to be bright, you know, you're studying over here and you're going to delve into the depths to get your books over on this side. That was the idea. This will be much more yellowy lit, and this is the much more, you know, bright blue sun, you know, and you know, that was the idea, a bit of balancing, because right now it's homogeneous in the lighting, which I think is a bit boring. So I think what we're gonna have to do is just have a bit of a play I did some trees outside to see if I could get them to cast a bit of shadow in there, but what I'm going to do is just do a little bit of light blocking outside of camera. You won't see this. The best thing about Fstorm is it doesn't render materials, just flat grey, unlike Corona, which renders whatever the max material assigned is. So if it's a pink block, it renders pink, which is a real pain in my opinion. Then I have to go to make sure everything's got like an actual grey material on it before I click render. Whereas if you're in commercial work with Fstorm and you just leave something and you didn't put a texture on it, at least it's just grey and it just fades into the background. That's it. That's better. That's what I wanted. This sort of dark side here. And it's just... I'm just going to put some rectangular lights in here, which would be just like those under shelf lights. Let me put them a little further in. Maybe a few like that. Let me go right. Maybe 4 like that. Put one more down this side. Just because you can't see it in frame doesn't mean it's not important. Here we go. Okay, so that's good. Let's grab these lights. We're going to start to tint them. Yes, like this. Sort of this dark underside lighting there. Maybe a little bit warm. What if we can just mess with the tones a little bit? Put a little bit of green in there. I think I'm trying to simulate here is the tones you sometimes get in film grading in the lights. That's it. This sort of warm, darker side. There may be too many on that side, but hopefully the bookshelves will obscure it a bit. And these lights would sit behind the mesh, so we should try to do that. I may just leave the metal like that. We'll have to build light fixtures for this. let's see if I can find a nice... What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go pick a carpet out of another scene I did and roll it on the right here. That may help us get a sense of what's happening here a bit better. Alright, give me 1 second. Okay, so I've grabbed that carpet. I'm just going to make the geometry so we can use it. Can I do another photorealism trick to make carpet look better? So we want that exactly on the line here, as close as we can get it. Now, here's the trick. Just gonna create a spline. Detach that side. That's gonna be that carpet. Okay. Because what they do is they'd make one, they wouldn't have a step up like you would have in your normal house. What they'd have is a little strip, tiny little strip, like 1 mil high, 2 mils wide, just like a little piece of metallic brushed metal. You know, let's just put a chrome in there. And then, so that they sit flush, but there's, you know, you can't just have carpet just sitting ragged next to another flooring. Here's the floor. Just gonna grab this UVW map, place it on here. I'll just show you this one. So this is a carpet I made. I can't remember where I pulled the actual carpet from. I think I pulled it from something else. And it's got like a fall off on it, which you may not see. And the bump is just, you know, adjusted for Photoshop and blurred. And place that on this side. Some rotation on that UVW. What is it? 3,000. 3 meters, 3,000 mils. And often, like things with Viz, you have to make it bigger than it is in the real world for it to read properly. Let's have a look now. We're getting a bit more symmetry in the composition. Okay, here we go. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's not bad. We may actually have to pull it back, even though it is correct on that line, because the composition, it looks odd. And it also looks dark. So, I think we're going to have to push this way higher. Going to cheat here, move it visually right. Let's have a look at that. That's definitely better. That's good. I think we're going in the right direction. We'll have to work out the lighting on this side and make that less chrome or something darker. Maybe just a strip of black metal. And we may work on the carpet further, but we're getting the components in there. And I'm starting to think we're not going to have mesh here because I don't want to lose this structure we built. Looks good, and I'll be ashamed to cover that up. The plan changes, I guess, and then I think we'll leave it here for this episode. I'll let this render out so you can see it properly, and I think what we'll do is the next episode we'll just build the shelving along this wall here, and start the shelving up here will be the same, and there'll be a low height one here with some artworks above here. And then we'll build the racking on the right here. It'll start maybe further back. And then see how that goes, and we may be able to get a start on these tables here, which would be the study tables, and maybe a display case or two, depending on the room. Still trying to work through the composition and what's in my head compared to what it's coming out. I do like this splash of light here, but I would like a bit of light on the desks here, so I may have to just play around with an Fstorm sun rather than a HDRI, because I'm not getting the kind of direction I want out of the sun. So actually let me give that a shot now, and I'll see if I can come out with something better. What I'll do is throw the sun in there. Everything's slow today. Okay. Now I'm just going to fuss with the sun. Trying to think about which way I want it to come in. I'm just gonna make it targeted. And I don't have to mess with this. Just gonna reload this. Wow, what a difference. Okay. There we go. The windows are so small, it's very hard to get it in a place you want it to be. Unless we go straight down, basically. And then they're so square. They're so just... Unless we really increase the size here to open them up. I don't know. autosave. It's not bad. Bit of a splash there, but I don't know, it's not really working out. I think we revert back to how we had it. That's why you have an environment tab with your options. What to think on that one? I think it does need a little bit more work. It's nice you can see the clouds now. And alright, well, we'll keep going. I'll let that render out so you can see what it looks like, and then so you know where we're taking off from next time. Okay, thanks.